everybody, my name is Karen Chase and I'm filling in for Harvey Brovman today, the publisher of BrooklineHub.com, the founder of Brookline Youth Awards, and a documentary filmmaker. He also happens to be my husband. I'm especially excited to be with you today because in a past life, I was the executive director of Brookline Access Television, which is now Big Cable TV, which is where you're watching this episode tonight. I have a great lineup today. Let's get started. Today, I'm joined by Roxana Myram. She is the artistic director for Puppet Showplace Theater here in Brookline. Rabbi Daniel Rodkin is the executive director of the Shaloh House. And also joining us is Julia Goldberg, director of Fundraising and Operations at the Shaloh House. Welcome, everybody. So Puppet Showplace Theater happens to be a favorite of mine. It's a favorite of the Brookline Hub. We've run a lot of stories and events there on the hub. So today you get an inside peek. I'd love to start by asking you, Roxy, what your role is at the theater and what we could expect for people that don't know what the theater is.
Certainly. Well, hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm Roxy, and I'm the artistic director of Puppet Showplace Theater, and I've been there for 11 years, just over 11 years. The theater was founded in 1974 by a visionary artist, educator, and entrepreneur named Mary Churchill. And Mary founded the theater right in Brookline Village, right at the intersection of the urban and suburban communities in Greater Boston. So the theater strives to be a welcoming and creative place for very diverse communities of all different backgrounds and interests to bring them into the magical and exciting world of puppet theater. Now, puppetry is practiced all over the globe from all different cultures, and it's been around for thousands of years. And one of our missions as a theater is to bring the skills of puppetry and inspiration about puppetry to students and practitioners of all ages to continue to keep the art form vital and relevant in these times. Now, if people haven't been to Puppet Showplace before, you might know that in normal times, every week during the year, we would have live performances by a different touring puppet company on our stage. We also have performances for adult audiences called our Puppets at Night series. And then we teach puppetry in camps, classes, and workshops in partnership with many different organizations all throughout the community, Greater Boston and beyond. So we're going to learn more about that here today.
If that hasn't wet your whistle, then I don't know what will. This is something you need to see. But before we do that, I want you to meet Rabbi Rodkin, who will tell us a little bit, I hope, about Shaloh House. And then I'll connect the dots to see why we're all here together.
Thank you. My name is Dan Rodkin. I born in Moscow, and in '97 I moved to Boston. And in 2000 I became executive director of Shaloh House. The school was founded by Rabbi Goldberg in 1962, and it's moved places with Chester, Roxbury, Milton, and in 1991 it came to Brighton. Our students are children of immigrants, many children born here, but they still need to improve their English, and we do a lot of activities. We have a great academic program and great extracurricular program. So recently, when the schools went to COVID situation, we pride ourselves in how we handle it. So we had the open school on Zoom right away, and Friday all schools were closed, and Shaloh House opened up a Zoom program full day on Monday. So we're closed on Friday, and Monday we went full speed from 8 in the morning to 4 p.m. And we had a great success in doing the teaching on Zoom. So we pride ourselves in how we handle the COVID times. And in near future, we're going to have a camp in summer, and we're going to have after school and day school, preschool open in September.
You mentioned having a number of different programs, including chess, but have you But today we're going to talk about how you have now puppetry. I wonder if Julia, you could talk a little bit about how the marriage between you and Puppet Showplace Theater happened.
Yes, yes, great question. And as you mentioned, I'm director of fundraising, and this year we were very lucky to receive a grant from Department of Elementary and Secondary Education for improving English and linguistic skills. And I started to think about creative ways to do so. And instead of traditional English as a second language classes, I thought about maybe theater. And then it was no brain because when I think theater, it's for me Brookline Puppet Theater. I'm a Brookline resident myself, and I lived there for 20 years. I have 3 daughters, so you cannot imagine how many times I was in Brookline Puppet Theater for performances, for birthday celebration. What I didn't know is that the theater can actually work with us during COVID and bring their artists, their teachers to Shaloh House. So I called theater and I was lucky that Roxy answered, and she was so helpful from the first minute. And together with us, Roxy and Shaloh House developed a special customized program for students. And this program, I think, matches very well what we have in school. We have so high level of education. Our math and English level, if you compare the curriculum, are at least 1 grade higher than in the regular public school. So our kids thriving, they're achieving, but you need a balanced day. You need a fun place, you need an outlet for creativity, and Roxy brought it to our school.
Roxy, I'm really interested to know what you thought of when you got this phone call and how this sort of started and then germinated into, other programs that you're offering now.
So we were so happy that Shaloh House reached out to us, especially because we know that during the COVID pandemic, things have been so challenging for schools and for nonprofit theaters, right? And so many businesses and organizations, but in particular, these organizations who really thrive on in-person interaction and creativity really faced a lot of challenges. So when I first heard that Shaloh House was working in person and that they had created such a safe and intentional environment for learning to continue, that really excited me because I and many of my colleagues get into puppetry because of that live interactive experience. We also knew that during the pandemic, just having a creative outlet is so valuable for students and also for their families.
I can also add a few words as a parent. My daughter is a 2nd grader here, and she loved the classes. And in addition to performance skills, they're also creative dolls. And she brought one of the puppets home, Rosie. I would never forget the name because I was able to talk to Rebecca only through Rosie for the whole weekend. But that was a wonderful experience. She's not very talkative when I asked her how was the day. But through Rosie, I learned so much about Rebecca because she was given so much information. It was so expressive using the puppet.
Like Julia was saying, having the power and feeling empowered in a world that's so out of control to just create a character and create a story that you that can work within the bounds of your imagination is a very empowering and settling experience. So those are some of the things I was most excited about. But puppetry also has a very long history of engaging with other classroom skills. And in this case, the school was very interested in English language practice and instruction. So one of the things that we say about puppet characters is that they lower our affective barriers to verbal expression. So whereas I might personally feel a little shy or self-conscious about just spontaneously coming up with a story or speaking impromptu or behaving a certain way, if I create a puppet character to do this, it's much more likely to do something whimsical or groundbreaking or expressive, even though it's, of course, still me who's generating that expressive creativity. So we talked about that, and there were modifications to the kinds of things that we would maybe typically explore because students were still distancing in classes. We, for the most part, did not have multi-person, scenes or ensemble projects. Sometimes, that's one thing that we're also interested in teaching. So here we focused on things that could be done solo, things that could be still done in COVID-safe classrooms. So it was a really wonderful learning experience for all of us together.
What would you say was a surprise to you? Once this was up and running, what surprised you the most?
The students at Shaloh House are amazing. As Julia and Rabbi Rodkin both indicated, the students come from many different family backgrounds, many of whom are immigrants to the United States. So the students, many of them can, speak and create in 3 languages, right? At least. So that was really exciting to see, just all of the experiences and heritages that they were drawing on in order to generate ideas. So we would, for example, do certain improv games, and a student might spontaneously come up with an idea that is either rooted in a Torah passage, or is something related to a video game that they like, or is something in Russian cultural history. So that was just amazing to experience. And I think just getting to know them over the course of the residency has been really fun. And them also getting to know me, because I think it's not every day that you have a puppeteer show up in your classroom, and learning about what's possible, I think is always really exciting for students. And hearing, yes, you actually do have permission to make whatever kind of character you want, or come up with whatever kind of story or background you want.
Do you imagine, I guess, Julia or Rabbi Rodkin, incorporating puppetry in other curriculum, in other facets? Are you trying to, sort of expand beyond this initial proof of concept, if you will?
We definitely will continue, and I'm not sure how we can link puppetry to math or to science, but one thing, I cannot stop thinking about is how the puppets related to religion, and I think it's a direct connection to it's a religious message. We said that everything you do, you have to learn in service to God. How we can take it to your service to God. It's called in Hebrew Avodat Hashem. How we can use it in your service to be closer to God. So I think puppetry sends a very strong message. When you see the puppetry presentation and you see puppets, sometimes you have illusions that the puppets, it's actually they have their own life, they're in control, and sometimes you forget that it's actually someone behind the scenes who really in control, who really who really does everything. So same thing in the world. In the world we have a creator, and we have a God who's really behind the scenes. We don't really see him most of the time. We don't see him, we don't feel him, but we know he's there. So I think puppetry has a very religious message. Again, and of course we love to continue. All our kids love it, and as Roxy said so beautifully, we have a lot of children who would be shy talking English because they just moved from Israel and they don't have a vocabulary and they're shy. But the moment they put puppets and they hide and they talk. So it's amazing. I think every school need to adapt it, have to put in curriculum as a language development, but puppets are amazing.
Our future collaboration with Shaloh House will include sending puppeteers as teaching artists into the summer camp that they're running this summer. So that will be an exciting way just to continue giving a kind of out of school time experience and exposure to puppetry. And then in the following school year, one of our resident teaching artists is going to do a full year residency here. And so whereas this year we were doing kind of one-off projects and a little bit of cumulative work, next year we hope to have kind of a bigger theatrical performance that they're working towards, and that is more cumulative throughout the school year. To respond to one thing that Rabbi Rodkin said, that was also a surprise from the students, or just something that was unique to the culture of the school. When some students created their characters, there's always an interesting moment where you as the puppeteer sort of meet the character that you have created. And in a lot of cases, that is how the students referred to themselves. They would say, this is my puppet and I'm their creator. And so one of the things that is a cultural stereotype about puppetry is people think of puppetry as a metaphor for like control. And puppeteers don't think about puppetry that way at all. We think about puppetry as an art of care and animation. So you're giving life to an inanimate object by giving it attention, giving it movement, giving it expression. And so, in that context, I think there's also just a really beautiful connection to religious teachings, to humanistic teachings, and to sort of emotional, social development as well, where you're learning about care, you're learning about the gift of creativity.
I hear you, and you talk about the gift of creativity and caring and sort of giving life to something. And it also isn't lost on me that puppetry is not as popular, perhaps, as it should be. I don't want to say it's a lost art, because it is very much not a lost art, but there's a lot of people that might say, like, where do you go to see puppetry? I don't know. And so I guess I'm curious to hear from you what the landscape is for puppetry across the United States, and are there other are they also using puppetry as a way to for education and expression?
So puppetry is a vibrant and vital art form, and even though in this country it is often most affiliated with either theater or media for very young children, it is also widely shared and practiced for audiences of all ages in the United States, but also certainly all over the world. We are one of several regional puppetry centers. The largest in the country is based in Atlanta, Georgia. It's the Center for Puppetry Arts, and like them, many puppet theaters have a combination of either a resident or a series of touring companies who perform live productions. They may exhibit puppets either by their local community or to showcase global puppetry styles. And then teaching is often a big part of how many professional puppeteers make their living. And people do that in many different ways. I'm actually not typically the teacher who's sent out from Puppet Showplace. My primary work is as a curator, administrator, and director. But I'm very fortunate that I've been able to teach puppetry to all ages, pre-K through college and adult. Okay. And I think what that has taught me is, like many art forms where, I don't know, maybe people need a little extra, an extra welcome or an extra reason to be brought into the practice, which I think is true of puppet theater, that there's so many gateways at all different ages. And those gateways might be, I have a story to tell. It might be, I have a vision for something that I want to build or create. And in some cases, it's just, I have something I want to say, and it's hard for me to say it as a person. So I need to find a way to say it in a more symbolic or constructed or abstract way to express what's important to me. So those are things that I find, are exciting with different student groups.
And it's so true. It's not just for the young, really. And there's probably more value for us older folks. But I won't go down that path. Julia or Rabbi Rodkin, I'm interested to see if any of the students now have expressed an interest in puppetry as a career path. And I know they're young, but you never know. Or has this just inspired some new outside activities for them to pursue that they wouldn't have otherwise, and not necessarily puppetry, but maybe just performance?
Again, I have my statistics from one person, which is great.
Yes.
I think I see them really, she's changing, and she's giving performances in the house to the family members, the friends. I don't know if it will be a professional career or not. Usually, as we don't know. But I would say the freedom of expression is definitely changing. Maybe Roxy would know how many kids in her classes talked or inquired about this as a possible career. But I think that even if you don't become a puppeteer, these skills are useful for friends, for future parents. Not the last thing, it brings so much joy.
Joy is such an important word, and it really is it can change a life. Just to have a small experience of joy, in the littlest things, can grow into so much more. And so this relationship is not only great, it's unusual and it's special. And I'm so encouraged to know that it's happening here in our backyard. And I want to ask Roxy, what happens now that COVID is, letting things loosen up a little bit? What's happening at the Showplace?
Yeah, so Puppet Showplace has, our venue has been closed, but we have been very busy all throughout the whole pandemic. So we were doing virtual performances. Some were filmed from our theater or performed at our theater and then streamed live to our audiences. We really wanted to maintain that event nature of a live theater gathering. And so we did those events over Zoom so people could also interact with us and ask questions. But that series will probably bring to a close. And this summer, we're scheduling outdoor shows in Brookline, thanks to the support of the Brookline Community Foundation and other donors to Puppet Showplace. So stay tuned for more information about that. And then the hopeful resumption of in-person programming at the theater will happen in the fall. Over the summer, then, we are also offering puppetry classes for kids aged 7 to 10. We have some half-day programs that are called Kids Puppet Studio, and then full-day that are called Puppet Adventure Program. So we're excited that there will be young creators and young puppeteers at the theater all summer long. And then, beyond that, I think just like all theaters and all nonprofit organizations, we're just, driven by our mission, which in the case of Puppet Showplace is to present outstanding professional puppet theater to diverse audiences through performances, workshops, and community outreach. So that I think throughout this time, we've been really concerned about the impact of the pandemic on artists and puppeteers, as well as on the members of our audience. So one of the things that we're really focused on is how to sort of recreate paid performance opportunities for our resident artists, all of our affiliated artists, and just continue to be a hub for presenting puppetry in New England. There was a lot of innovation also during the pandemic, which was really exciting. So we had adult classes online. We've experimented with different forms of presentation and teaching, and we've also learned a lot by seeing the work of puppet theaters all across the country and all over the world in virtual contexts. So certain things we may continue doing. One of our signature events is called a Puppet Slam, and that's a cabaret style evening of short form puppet theater for adults. And with that, we may continue to do some virtual slams because it allows us to simultaneously, present performers from many different geographies and therefore share innovative work, including work that's very small, but that is very big for the camera.
When we first, we came up with the idea, I think Julia came up with the idea, to invite puppetry to Shaloh House. I was like, how is a puppet theater to do with a religious school? And in first it seems to be like, it doesn't really, it's very not standard, out of box. And, I'm so glad it happened. And I just encourage everyone, please, sometimes in life, we need just to do things and doesn't think, how it's going to fit or not fit, be a little bit creative about things. And I'm so glad we had this partnership. Again, I would say it's out of box, but we love it. And I think many more industries can, incorporate puppetry and again, creativity in our life to be able to think outside of the box.
I would argue that sometimes, bad things like COVID can generate really positive things. And this crazy time allowed you all to be creative and think outside of the box and come together. And I applaud you for being open-minded about that. And I can't think of a better union to make between, the Puppet Showplace and the Shaloh House. And so I thank you all for coming. I want to encourage everybody watching to go to the web, Google Puppet Showplace Theater, Google Shaloh House, and find out what they're doing, and then go and explore, and then think outside of the box. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. So thank you, everybody. I'm Karen Chase for BrooklineHub In Depth, and we'll see you again next time.
Hi, my name is Danielle Myers of ADW Video Productions and BrooklineHub.com. BrooklineHub.com is a 501c3 nonprofit online publication dedicated to community building through local reporting and events. Brookline Facing Civil Rights was produced by our founder, Harvey Brovman. The film is about the experiences of African Americans who helped break the wall of segregation that existed in Brookline before the civil rights laws were passed in the 1960s. Last year, the film sold out the Coolidge Corner Theater and included a panel discussion on inclusivity. You can stream the film and the discussion on BrooklineHub.com in exchange for a donation to the Brookline Community Foundation's Safety Net Fund. You can also stream Soul Witness, a film that features interviews with Brookline Holocaust survivors conducted 30 years ago, on soulwitness.org. For the last 11 years, Harvey has been interviewing outstanding teens as part of an event held at the Coolidge called the Brookline Youth Awards. The Brookline Youth Awards are an opportunity for Brookline residents to hear about the character, challenges, and dreams of its young people, as well as adults dedicated to their success through the power and intimacy of video interviews.